Hey folks, welcome to the village. Out in the backyard today. Got a little project I'm going to be working on here at the shed. Swing back around here a little bit. We're going to work on all this, enclosing this down here along the front edge, and then of course around to the side edge here. We'll enclose like the backside you see along the fence back here and along down the fence down here. But we're just going to do that with some hardware cloth. I'll just, bend it into a little L, and I'll use the pneumatic stapler, and we're going to staple that up. We're going to work on that today, and that'll enclose the back. And then the board's here for more enclosing it and give it a finished look, just to keep the vermin and the stuff from going underneath there, just setting up shop or anything. So that's what the shed bottom looks like there. Overhead's what we're going to be working with. These are 1 by 6 by 6 dog-eared cedar fence boards. We're gonna use them in the sock width, which is 6 inch, which is really 5.5, and then we're gonna split them down into 2 3/4 here, and we're gonna alternate them just to give them a little break up the look a little bit. And we're just gonna mount those like this over here. We'll show you. We'll just bring this over to the shed here. What we're gonna do, we're just gonna take these and cut them to size, and we're just going to tack them right along that line you see there. I'm going to attach them with the, I think I've got 1 5/8 inch. Yeah, these are 1 5/8 inch number 6 deck type screws. I think this will be good because I don't think they'll split. I don't think we're going to have to make pilot holes, but we'll test it just to make sure. So I'm going to get the camera set up here, and we're going to get that set up and start measuring the board and doing some cutting. Okay, as you can see here, I went ahead and cut this first board. Going to secure it, like I said, up here down at the bottom. I forgot to mention earlier, we're going to dig us a little trough down there, and we're going to put some of this river pebble in here. That way the boards are sitting up on that and not down on the dirt. Cedar board is really rot resistant and everything, but just don't want it sitting in the clay soil with the moisture on it. This way it'll sit up on the rock. Any moisture that hits that's just going to drain off into the rock and down into the soil, so that'll keep it from getting too wet. Again, just like that, we're just going to finish digging this trough all along these edges here and over here and down this way, and get this rock all kind of set in there level, and then we're going to come back and we'll start cutting these boards and secure them with the screws up on the top here. So let's go ahead and I'll just finish digging this, and we'll come back and look at that in a sec. Okay, you can see what I'm kind of doing, working on here. It's not really a trough. I'm just making like a little like U-shaped deal through here. And then we'll come back with that river pebble, and we're just going to add in. So the boards will just come down. I know this is crooked, but, and just sit like right on that bed of river pebble. And so that's all we're doing here. I'm going to continue this up along here. Then I'm going to go down the other end and work on the other end, do the same thing. Come back and we'll fill that in. Then we can start cutting our boards and putting our boards in place. Yep, just a little work, just takes a little bit of time. We'll get this done and we'll come back and show you what we got going. To give you an idea how hard this clay soil is, we've had about much rain in the last 2 months. Is, let's say, the Death Valley or North Saharan Desert, we have clay soil. This is a solid aluminum little spade, whatever you want to call it. That's how hard the ground is here. And it's kind of the consistency of maybe say the concrete driveway. So to dig this little trough is a little bit of work. So keep working at it, and we'll dig this dug, and we'll get back at that rock in there. Just wanted to show you that, guys. Okay, so if you look down here now, you can see I'm all finished. We've just created not really a trough, just a little kind of U-shaped impression in the concrete, aka soil, and it just kind of runs right along where the boards will finish, just kind of like you see this one that I've got set up here on the end. That way it'll just be sitting on the rock down here instead of sitting on the ground. Just gives it that little bit of drainage. And see, it just goes right around the corner all the way up to the side. So we're going to come back now and take this river pebble here, and we'll just take them, we're going to fill it all in that little trough along here, and then we can come back and start cutting the boards like this, and we'll just work our way in our pattern from the 4-inch, so actually 3 3/4 to the 5.5, and then alternate the boards all the way down. So let me go ahead and fill that river rock in. I'll show you what that looks like when we get finished. Okay, just got my bag's heavy, so I'm just doing this the lazy old man way. I'm just laying it down here. I got my bag open. I'm just feeding the rock into the little depression. I'll level it out. I'll come back and just kind of tamp it all down. Kind of work it into the trough, kind of tamp it all down to the place. I'll probably come back and wet it. I'm not sure yet what that is. I might just take my spade and come back and just tap it all down. It's really not going to do much good to tap it down because, again, the ground underneath is so damn hard. So that's basically all I'm doing. And it just gives you that base to keep the boards from sitting down in the clay, which wouldn't matter now because it's dry, but once it gets wet, I mean, it pools water. That's basically how I'm doing it. And I'm just going to keep feeding that in the trough, you know, as I work my way down, and we'll just work it all the way along here, just leveling out a little bit. And just take a little time. We'll come back. I'll show you what we got done. All right, now you can see we got all our rock on our little impression trough-like thing all along the edge. And just kind of flatten it out in there. Really, if the ground is packed, like I said, as hard as it is, you really can't pack it down. Just work that all in there. So now we'll come back now, just like you see our other board I put in here on the corner, and we'll cut those to size. We'll put them up against that edge there, and then we'll hit the screws in them, and that way they're going to sit now and rest on that bed of rock. And then I might come at the end and come back and put some rock around the edge. I'm going to see what it looks like. So that's what we're up to now. So we'll get the saw here, we'll get some boards measured and start putting some boards up, get them cut into size, and get them in place. And there's my help. We're working out here for probably about an hour and a half, hour 15 minutes. As you see, we got our boards, alternating boards, just making a small gap in between of them, just get a little airflow underneath. Just using a couple screws and doing a little pilot hole to make sure it doesn't split, because it will split them with those number 6s. Just, again, making sure they're even, making sure they're up flush against there, and securing them. I'm taking them again down here along the bottom where the rock is. I'm taking the boards, I'll cut them a little long, and I'll take that and tap them down a little bit to make sure they're solid against the rock, and then tap them into place, drill the pilot holes, and then screw them in with the screws. That looks pretty good. You get a little overall shot there. We're about halfway, we're almost to the middle part of the door there. I'm gonna try to get this all done tonight. I don't know if that's gonna happen. Gotta get all the way up there. Battery on the drill, needing to charge. We're gonna keep working out of here. In a few minutes we get that back out, and we'll start working on this. Hopefully get it done. We'll get you a shot here when we're finished. And then again tomorrow we'll come back and do the other end down here in the end. But again, just overall what it looks like right now. I like it really coming out nice. And work our way around the corner over here. So I just want to give you an update what we got going on. Come back when we get this side all finished. I wanted to show you something about how we're mounting the boards up there. What crown is on a board. When you look at the end of a board like this, you're going to see the natural rings of the tree. That's going to give a natural crown to the wood. Like this would be this out part here would be where the bark was on the tree. This will be the center of the tree in here. So that's what you call the crown. And the board's going to have a natural, like little U almost like shape to it. So when you go to put these boards up, make sure you look at that crown. You're putting them up so the crown is this way, like this would be the bark side of the wood facing out. So that way as you put them up, they're gonna flatten out and they're gonna be more true. You put them this way against the crown, they're going to want to pull they want to cup kind of out this way and leave your seams uneven. So just a little hint when you're working on that to work with a crown like that. They were second day 2. We're on the back end here of the shed. We got the whole side done. Because the slope of the yard on the other side, on that other side there, it kind of slopes this way. We had to cut each board, you know, progressively shorter or longer, whichever way you were going. This end is fairly level, so it's pretty close on the cuts. And just to show you what we're doing here again, we're cutting the boards probably about an eighth inch longer than what the measurement would be. And we're coming up with the boards and we're placing them in place. And then I'm taking the hammer and just taking the board and just kind of tapping along the surface till it's about where it should be. That way it's kind of compressing the rock down here. Slide the board in place, and then I'll take and space it. And just kind of iron it up on the spacing. It doesn't have to be perfect. So that's about where it should be in place. Make sure it's butt up against the top there. When I come back, because my screws will split this soft cedar, I'm just taking and drilling a pilot hole and coming back in with my number 6 1 5/8 inch construction screws. Just put those in. Same thing, just repeat that process. Come back when they're one of these bad boys. And that's pretty much it. I'll probably come back to along here in the front and just probably backfill a little more of the river pebble in there. And just gonna work our way down. It's just pretty simple. Being that they're such short length boards, I'm thinking the 2 screws up here, it doesn't really need to be anything down below to hold it. The rock kind of firms it up by tapping it down and then backfilling again here. It should be plenty enough to hold this securely in there. So we're just going to keep making these cuts, work our way down here, and get this thing finished out today, folks. Okay, folks, welcome back. As you can see, completed all the way around. Probably come back, like I said, along here we have the rock along the edge. Probably add a little more rock. It's actually pretty good down here. I need a little bit more in some areas here. I think it came out pretty good. Again, just eyeing up the little gaps in there. Didn't really measure it, just to kind of give a little airflow through there. And like I said, here on the back side, we'll be adding hardware cloth down this side and down the far side end there. And that's what she looks like finished. I think it came out pretty good. Probably took me the side today back here on this end. Took a couple hours today. This yesterday was a little slower, different cuts. This took probably about 4 hours. I'll just give you a whole idea what it looks like completed with the whole shed there. Later on, I'm going to come back here and another project up here, and we'll add some shutters along the sides here using these same type of boards, probably ripped down in half from the 6-inch boards to like 2 3/4, because actually width is 5.5, and we'll use those, and we'll make just like a couple little shutters here along both windows you see there. So it's pretty simple, nothing complicated. Just have the table saw to rip the boards down. Basically using a circular saw to cut the boards to, you know, to length. I used a couple different drills, one for making pilot holes, because the stuff's fairly soft, it'll crack. So I was just drilling pilot holes, one drill, another drill, just putting the screws in. Pretty simple, nothing complex here. And the rocks do help, again, stabilize the wood at the bottom. Also keeps the wood from having to sit in the clay, which would accelerate it kind of breaking down. So I think that, and that gives it just a little look along the edge there, keeps the weeds up off there and everything. So that's what she looks like. So when we come back, the next one we'll do the shutters. I'm going to shoot a little video of that, showing that. Also be adding on later, adding some steps in here probably to get into the shed there. And it's a little tricky too because that downward slope, so that's gonna be rather fun to do. So thanks for joining, folks. If you like what we're doing here, hit the like button. And if you like watching us and hanging out and doing some projects, sharing some information, learning some stuff possibly, hit that subscribe button. Any comments or anything down below, any comments, questions or anything like that, you know, here to share information. And thanks for joining, folks, and have a good rest of your weekend.